Today I want to give you a topic that I've been talking to a lot of people about, as always, and it's about redigesting the past. My stance on the past is basically it's a movie, right? It's a movie that you've seen, it's already played out, and you memorize some scenes, but ultimately it has nothing to do with you right now. But if you really sit down and think about this, like the more you will find that it is true, right? Yes, the effects of the past events they layer on onto our consciousness and they influence our decision making process, and they influence how we get to feel about certain stimulus, right? And that is basically what the proper Buddhist concept of karma is. It's basically accrued experiences layered on top of each other and forming kind of a cyclical pattern on top of it. But when a past event, even with the best of our knowledge, if it still lingers, right? What do we do? Suppose you've been bullied before. Suppose you have a very rough relationship with your parents and a bunch of things happened in the past. Suppose you were the victim of an assault. Suppose all these things happened and now you are basically trying to. Your whole life is warped around this experience. So it starts forming the identity, right? So you start becoming a victim. And, this is a little bit less talked about, but when you're the survivor of something, I'm not arguing that, you should be like diminishing your, progress in terms of your growth and maturity after events that you want to kind of mentally graduate out of. But when you define yourself as a survivor of XYZ, you're still letting that event more or less define your identity, right? And now, there are things that are good about this, right? So if you are a survivor of, assault and you're speaking out against the violence and you're speaking against the, like legal loopholes that, perpetrators like to use, and if you speak out about the abuse that you have had to endure in your life, and so that it can help other people, it's good, right? But now you want to ask yourself, like, what is my life outside of this scope of this bad event? And you know what? Even after that conscious deliberation, you can be like, you know what? Like, yeah, I feel fine now, and I'm not at the effect of what happened to me in the past anymore. But still, this is something that really needs addressing in the world, and I want to make sure that I'm doing my part in addressing this and making the world a better place. Then good, right? You gave this conscious thought, and now basically I'm trying to, in this video, get you to ask that conscious decision by yourself too. When these bad things happen to you, when you face your limitations because of your past, of course it's very, very difficult. Of course it's very, very hard to think outside of this. Because why? Because those experiences are inherently difficult. Those experiences are like inherently and in and of by itself has the quality of being difficult. It's less about that. And again, not trying to argue that what you did went through is like nothing. I'm sure the effects of what you experienced is very real, right? But in the end, we have to understand that everything can be interpreted differently because nothing has an inherent quality to it. And this gets challenged a lot. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that it is not challenged. If you want to challenge it, I'm happy to talk about it more. So, yes, it's hard, but that difficulty comes from not the inherent difficulty of the events that you experienced in the past. It comes from the fact that it's just how you lived your life. I got a new dog. I'm housing him. I picked up. It's a stray dog. The dog is having a pretty tough time adjusting to our home. Why? Simply because the dog is used to another home. The dog is used to having another family. The dog is used to, you know, going potty, eating something, and like sniffing things, and getting cuddled in a certain way. The dog has basically layered experiences that define what it means to be normal, right? And challenging that notion because of difficult circumstances like being lost, being separated from family. It's all hard, right? But again, it's not hard because those experiences are inherently difficult. It's hard because it's just how you lived. And to anyone, breaking out of the way you lived is challenging because it's not how you lived before. So we have to, if you can get to that understanding, or if you can cognitively contemplate that at least, then you can start asking yourself, like, if I could get a life eraser, right? And if I could erase certain parts of my life, like, how would I be different? How would my life be shaped differently? And that, I think, is a question worth contemplating, right? Because now, if everything in your life is for good or for bad, depending on how you look at it, it's a part of your definition of who you are. It's a part of your worldview and everything, right? But it's important to contemplate yourself outside of that so you can evaluate which parts to keep, which parts to not keep. Suppose you got into a car accident, right? And it's a very scary experience, and now you have difficulty driving, and you have difficulty getting in like really fast moving vehicles, right? So you might not like the panic part, but at the same time, if you hadn't gotten into a car accident, who knows? Maybe you would have been the one who's speeding through the like local streets, right? Maybe you could have been the one who's drunk driving because you just don't know how bad it can be because you've never experienced it firsthand. So, like that, you want to see if my life, from a both good and a bad lens, what would my life be like without this bad event that I want to redefine? And then, how do I feel about that? Both the good and the bad. Because that can give you kind of a new destination to point your life towards. And another quick tip about what my idea how to think about these things is nothing happened. I've talked about this in another recent video, but nothing exceptional happened. Everything just happened per course. And there's nothing that's crazy like bad about it. There's nothing crazy good about it. It's just the same as the lunch I had 3 weeks ago. It's the same as my commute from a week ago. Everything, it just is. And the more you can think about that, the more you can repeat to yourself, nothing happened. Nothing significant happened. I think that is another way of, the more you remind yourself of this, the more evidence and kind of proof of that belief you will start to see emerge in your own life. Why? Because of reticular activated system. RES, reticular, not particular. I'm looking at new caption. Okay, that's my video.